Welcome to all those that are here. This shiur is the second in a series called Living a Joyful Judaism. This series has been dedicated for a refuah shalema for Yus Behendel Bas Gitaleya, B'toch Shar Cholei Yisrael, together with all the other Jews that need refuahs and yeshuas. In the previous shiur, we spoke about joyful Judaism, and we focused on the topic of emunah, faith in Hashem, and bitachon, a level of trust and confidence where a person has no fear, no insecurity. The following shiur that we're about to give, we're going to be focusing on a very important topic, which is discussed elaborately in many places in Rabbi Nachman's teachings and the teachings of his student Reb Nasan. One of the places is Likutei Moharan, chapter 23. And the topic is money. Money can be a form of joy, happiness, and money can be something that leads to sadness, depression, strife, machloket. Let's see if we could understand this to be able to draw advice as to how we could live with genuine joy and happiness related to this topic. Looking forward to the coming of Mashiach, one of the descriptions that we're given about how things are going to look when Mashiach comes is, we're told, Bayom hahu yashlech ha'odom es elile kaspoi ve'elile zahavoi. On that day, everyone will rid themselves of their idols of gold and silver. Elile kaspoi ve'elile zahavoi. It's referred to as idols. Now, most people, when they study Torah in today's times, and they read about idol worship, and they think of thousands of years ago when there were these people who had no idea, who were very far from civilization and pagan, and they worshipped idols. But we know that our Torah is not a history book, and it's not a storybook. And if our Torah is discussing the topic of idol worship, there must be an application to it today, in our times. We know that on the United States coins, it's written, "In God we trust." And most people will say, that's the God. That's where we put our trust. Meaning that my level of trust, my level of bitachon, is dependent on my bank statement. If I see I'm in the black, I have several $1 million in the black, then I have a certain level of bitachon, trust, confidence. And chas v'shalom, the opposite, there's an opposite attitude. There's a term that's used in the Zohar HaKodesh, in Sifrei Kabbalah, where it speaks about Hashem, and it uses the term anpin nehirin and anpin chashoichin. A face that's radiating light, or a face that's dark. And Rabbi Nachman tells us that when a person has the right attitude about money, then they are in a state referred to as anpin nehirin. They are radiating light, happiness, life. And when a person has the wrong attitude about money, then they're in a state of darkness, anpin chashoichin, depression, death, idol worship. All of those terms are used regarding the wrong type of attitude towards money. And when I use the term money, we don't limit it only to money. We're referring to all types of materialistic possessions. The term that's used in Hebrew, taivas maimon, means the wrong type of desire for money. When a person has an excessive desire for money, when a person desires excess money, money that they don't really need. And Rabbi Nachman gives a very interesting, clear definition. He says, Elu b'nei Adam hanoiflim b'taivas maimon, those people who fall into the wrong type of attitude regarding money. And what do we mean by that exactly? Ve'enom ma'aminim, they don't believe that Hashem has the ability to sustain a person, to support a person, besiba kala, very easily. V'roidfin achar parnososum b'yagiyos gedolos. And these people pursue their livelihood, the struggle for money, with all kinds of extreme efforts, beyond the norms, beyond the 9 to 5 type of day. They are oichle lechem b'itzavain. They are people who are living with depression. They are fulfilling the curse that Hashem gave when Adam and Chava ate from the Eitz Hadas, when Hashem said, B'itzavon tochalena, that your earning of a livelihood, your sustaining yourself in this world, is going to involve itzavon, depression, sadness, unhappiness. And it's about this type of attitude that the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, Mar ben achosim, mar bedaiga. That just like we know there's water and there's salt water. A person who's thirsty, if they drink water, usually, hopefully, it'll quench their thirst. It'll satisfy their thirst. If they're drinking salt water, it looks the same. It looks exactly the same. It has the same appearance. It has the exact opposite effect. The more the person drinking, the thirstier they get. The thirst is not resolved in any way. It's the opposite. And it can bring illness, and it could lead to even worse than that, chas v'shalom. The same thing we're told is regarding the wrong type of attitude towards money. The Mishnah says, Mar ben achosim, mar bedaiga. A person who has that wrong type of attitude shouldn't think that if they hit it big, if they win the lottery, or if they sell their company and they make a large amount of money, well, then the problem is resolved. On the contrary, the problem becomes amplified. It becomes much bigger. The worries, the nervousness, the unhappiness, and the feeling of unfulfillment becomes greater. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, Yesh lo mana rotze mosayim, that when a person has the wrong type of attitude about money, then if they have 100, they want 100 more. They're lacking 200. If they have 100 million, then the hole is even bigger. Then they're lacking $200 million to satisfy themselves, or supposedly to satisfy themselves. And Rabbi Nachman uses wording that's extremely precise and accurate. He says that this wrong type of attitude about money shortens and destroys the life of a person, because there is nothing that takes away from a person's life like worry and depression, as is known even by the doctors, the Chachmei Harofim, who Rabbi Nachman isn't usually that complimentary about, but here he says even they recognize and admit this, that worrying and unhappiness are the greatest destroyers of a person's life. Whereas, if a person conducts themselves, if a person has the proper attitude regarding money, which refers specifically to two things: honesty, emet, to be honest, and number two, emunah, to have faith and trust in Hashem.